You ever get the feeling that, like, even the families we think we know the best, they have uh, these layers that we never see?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. It's just something that's always kind of fascinated me.
Yeah.
So today, we're diving into some of those layers, exploring the wild world of family secrets revealed on Reddit.
Oh, wow.
Get ready, because these stories might have you looking at your own family tree just a little differently.
It's like that saying, every family has a skeleton in the closet.
Right.
But what's interesting is that those skeletons aren't always dark or sinister. Sometimes they're stories of hidden love, really complicated choices, and identities kept under wraps for reasons that are really hard to fathom.
Okay, so our first Reddit confession takes us right into that territory.
Yeah.
Complicated choices and maybe a little bit of, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
This guy finds out in his 20s that the older brother he thought died as a baby was actually given up for adoption. And what's really striking here is how the parents managed to completely erase this child's existence. Like, no death certificate, no mention of him, nothing.
Right.
It's like, psychologically, this points to a deep-seated need to protect a certain narrative, a certain image of their family.
Exact.
It's like they built this whole reality based on a lie. And they were willing to go to any lengths to maintain it.
It's a really powerful thing.
The poster in the story even found out his parents actively blocked his brother from contacting him.
Wow.
Which I guess ties into this fascinating area of research on family secrets and how they impact relationships over time.
Yeah.
There's this idea of family myths, where families create and maintain these unspoken narratives about themselves, even if those narratives are based on half-truths or outright fabrications.
Right.
So in this case, the myth was, we are a happy family of 3, and our oldest son tragically passed away.
Wow.
And they clung to that myth so tightly that they were willing to sacrifice their son's relationship with his brother.
And think about the psychological impact on everyone involved.
Yeah.
The poster, growing up with this gaping hole in his life, not even knowing he had a brother out there. The brother searching for his family only to be met with silence. And then the parents carrying the weight of the secret for decades.
It makes you wonder, is the truth always better, even if it's messy and painful?
Right.
Because, I mean, in this case, the truth did come out, but at what cost? The family's fractured, trust is broken.
Yeah.
It's like a bomb went off, shattering their carefully constructed reality.
And this brings up another layer of complexity, I think. The concept of forgiveness. Can you forgive your parents for erasing a sibling from your life?
Right.
Can you forgive your brother for not being there?
Yeah.
These are the kinds of questions that I think linger long after the initial shock of the secret fades.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And speaking of heavy stuff, our next story dials up the betrayal in a major way.
Okay.
This woman on Reddit discovers, on Tinder of all places, that her dad, who she thought died in a car accident when she was 5, is alive and well, living just a short drive away.
It's almost unbelievable, right?
It's crazy.
But this story gets at something really fundamental about family secrets. They often involve a manipulation of reality, a deliberate attempt to control the narrative. In this case, the mother took control of her daughter's entire world by creating this elaborate lie about her father's death.
And it wasn't just a passive lie.
Right.
She actively intercepted letters, messages, anything that the father tried to send to his daughter.
Really?
She was determined to keep them apart no matter what.
So from a psychological perspective, there are a couple ways to look at this.
Okay.
On one hand, there could be a deeply rooted fear or insecurity driving the mother's actions. Maybe she felt threatened by the father's presence, or maybe she wanted to protect her daughter from some perceived harm.
But on the other hand, it feels incredibly selfish and manipulative. Like, she was prioritizing her own needs and fears above her daughter's right to know her father.
Absolutely.
And that's where the ethical implications come in.
Yeah.
Even if the mother believed she was acting in her daughter's best interest, the deception ultimately robbed her of the chance to have a relationship with her father, to make her own choices about who to love and trust.
Right.
And the daughter is left with this impossible dilemma. Does she try to build a relationship with the father she never knew? Does she confront her mother about the betrayal? How do you even begin to process that kind of emotional upheaval?
You know, it's interesting to think about this in the context of attachment theory.
Okay.
The idea that our early childhood experiences, especially our relationships with our primary caregivers, shape our ability to form secure and healthy relationships later in life.
So in this case, the daughter's attachment to her mother was built on a foundation of lies and manipulation.
Right.
That's got to have some serious repercussions for her sense of trust, her ability to form secure
Her
attachment,
whole outlook on
or whole
relationships.
outlook on relationships, exactly.
It's a deeply unsettling thought, isn't it? That the very people we depend on for love and security can also be the source of such profound deception and pain.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder how many other families are carrying these kinds of secrets, these hidden truths that are shaping their lives in ways they don't even realize.
It's like a whole other world operating beneath the surface of what we see. Okay, so ready for another twist? Our next Reddit confession involves a grandfather's secret that only came to light after he passed away.
Oh, wow.
This family finds a hidden briefcase with letters, a photo, and a birth certificate. Turns out Grandpa had a whole other family before he met their grandmother.
Ah, the secrets revealed after death.
Yeah.
It's a classic trope for a reason, I think. It taps into our fascination with the unknown, the idea that even the people we think we know best can have these hidden lives, these alternate realities that we never get to see.
And in this case, the alternate reality was pretty intense. The grandfather had this whole other love story, a child he fathered. He had been sending letters and money for years, but then suddenly cut off all contact.
And what's fascinating here is that we don't know why he chose to keep the secret.
Right?
Was it guilt? Fear of exposure? A change of heart? Or maybe something else entirely? It's like a puzzle with missing pieces, and we're left to fill in the blanks with our own interpretations.
And the family in the story is faced with a similar challenge. They have these fragments of information, these tantalizing clues, but no clear answers. They have to decide whether to dig deeper, to try to piece together the truth, or to let the past stay buried.
And that decision has ethical implications, too.
Right.
Do they have an obligation to this secret child to connect with them, to reveal the truth about their father? Or is it better to respect the grandfather's choice to keep this part of his life hidden?
It's a tough call.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about the responsibility we have to the past, even when it's messy and uncomfortable. Do we have a duty to uncover the truth, even if it means disrupting lives and reopening old wounds?
It's a question with no easy answers, and I think it speaks to a larger societal conversation about transparency and honesty. In a world where so much is hidden, where secrets are often used to protect reputations or maintain power structures, there's something powerful about the act of bringing those secrets to light, even if it's decades later.
And in this case, the family did decide to reach out to the secret child. What they discovered was both heartwarming and heartbreaking. The child had spent their whole life searching for their father, only to find out it was too late for a reunion.
It's a poignant reminder that time doesn't heal all wounds, and that the impact of family secrets can ripple across generations. Even if the intention wasn't to cause harm, the consequences can be devastating.
I'm getting the feeling that with these family secrets, even when there are good intentions, things can still go very wrong. Okay, ready for another wild one?
Yeah, hit me.
This next story involves an uncle who supposedly moved abroad for work 25 years ago. Turns out, he faked his death and started a new life just a couple hours away.
Wow, talk about a plot twist. This one really pushes the boundaries of what we consider acceptable deception. It's not just a matter of omitting information or telling a white lie. This is a full-blown fabrication,
Right.
a complete erasure of one identity in favor of another.
And the poster in the story doesn't go into detail, but it sounds like the uncle was involved in something shady, something he was trying to escape. So he created this new identity, started a new family, basically wiped the slate clean.
It makes you wonder what drives someone to such extreme measures.
Right.
Was it purely self-preservation, a desperate attempt to outrun his past? Or was there a deeper psychological need at play, a desire to reinvent himself, to shed the skin of his old life and become someone new?
And what about the people he left behind? The family who mourned his death, who spent years wondering what happened to him. To find out he was alive all along, living a lie just a short distance away, that's got to be a mind-blowing betrayal.
You know, in psychology, we talk about the concept of object permanence, which is the understanding that objects continue to exist even when we can't see them.
Oh, yeah, so like when a baby learns that their toy is still there, even if it's hidden under a blanket.
Exactly. But I think there's a parallel here with relationships.
Mm-hmm.
We develop a sense of object permanence with the people we love. We believe they exist even when they're not physically present.
Right.
But when someone fakes their death, They shatter that sense of permanence. It's
Hmm.
like the rug has been pulled out from under you and you're left questioning everything you thought you knew about that person, about your relationship, about reality itself.
Wow, that's deep.
It is.
And it makes this story more than just a crazy anecdote, right?
Yeah.
It's a glimpse into the fragility of trust, the way our relationships are built on these unspoken assumptions about who people are and how they'll behave.
And it raises questions about forgiveness.
Mm.
Can you forgive someone for this level of deception? Can you ever truly trust them again? Or is the damage irreparable?
It's hard to imagine going through something like that and coming out the other
Yeah.
side.
Okay.
So this next story is a little different. It takes us deep into this tangled web of family relationships and hidden identities. This woman discovers that her mother's best friend, someone who's been a constant presence in her life, is actually her secret sister, who was given up for adoption years ago.
Mm. This one is fascinating because it highlights how secrets can shape family dynamics in these really subtle but powerful ways. The mother's choice to bring her daughter back into her life but conceal her true identity.
Yeah.
It creates this whole layered reality where everyone is playing a role but no one has the full script.
Also like a soap opera, right?
Yeah.
All this drama unfolding right under their noses, and no one's the wiser.
Right.
Except in this case, the daughter overhears a conversation between her mom and her best friend. And the truth comes spilling out.
And it turns out the best friend knew the whole time. She was complicit in keeping the secret, waiting for the mother to be ready to share it with the family.
Which makes you think about the burden of carrying a secret like that.
Right.
I mean, imagine going through life knowing that the person you consider your best friend is actually your sister and you can't tell anyone.
Wow, yeah.
What does that do to your sense of self, your relationships, your whole understanding of your family?
Right, and it speaks to the power of loyalty, too.
Hmm.
This best friend, this secret sister, she chose to honor her mother's wishes, even though it meant keeping a huge part of herself hidden. That's a powerful bond, and it makes you wonder how much of ourselves we are willing to sacrifice to protect the people we love.
It's like this whole other layer of complexity on top of the already complicated dynamics of adoption and family secrets. And it makes you wonder, what happens to a family when a truth like this comes out? Can they adapt? Can they find a new equilibrium?
There is a body of research on family systems theory that suggests families are these incredibly resilient units. They can bend and flex and adapt to all sorts of challenges, including the revelation of long-held secrets.
So it's possible that this family could find a way to integrate this new truth into their lives, to reconfigure their relationships in a way that honors everyone's experiences.
It's definitely possible. Of course, it would take a lot of communication, empathy, and a willingness to see things from multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
But the potential for healing and growth is definitely there.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. With these family secrets, the fallout isn't always completely negative.
Right.
Sometimes it leads to opportunities for growth, for deeper understanding, for forging new kinds of bonds. Okay, so you ready for a real doozy?
Oh, yeah. Lay it on me.
This last story is about a guy who finds out that his dad, who disappeared when he was a kid, became a cult leader.
That's definitely taking things to a whole other level. It's like something out of a movie, right?
Right. This guy's dad was just a regular dude,
Oh.
a loving father, 9-to-5 job. Then one day, poof, he's gone.
Wow.
No explanation, no goodbye. Years later, the son stumbles across a YouTube video of his father preaching to a group of followers. Turns out dear old dad is the head honcho of a full-blown cult.
Wow. That's got to be one of the most shocking discoveries imaginable.
I can't even imagine.
It really speaks to the power of belief systems and how they can transform individuals in really profound ways.
And the psychological impact on the son must be immense. I mean, first you have the abandonment and the trauma of your father disappearing without a trace. Then you find out he's not just living a normal life somewhere, he's leading people down this potentially dangerous path.
It's like a double betrayal, right? Not only did the father abandon his family, but he embraced an ideology that could be harmful to himself and others.
And the son is left with this impossible choice. Does he try to reconnect with his father, try to understand what led him down this path? Or does he stay away, protect himself from the potential influence of the cult?
You know, this story brings up a lot of questions about the nature of free will and personal responsibility. How much choice do we really have in shaping our own destinies? And to what extent are we influenced by the people and the ideas we surround ourselves with?
It's like, is this dad a villain? Or is he a victim of his own circumstances, someone who got swept up in something bigger than himself?
It's hard to say for sure without knowing more about his backstory, his motivations for joining the cult, but I think it's important to remember that even people who make seemingly irrational or harmful choices are often driven by a desire for connection, for meaning, for something bigger than themselves.
So we've heard about a brother erased from existence, a father who faked his own death, a grandfather with a secret family, and now a dad-turned-cult leader.
I've got to say, these stories are pretty wild. But they're also incredibly insightful. They're like these little windows into the hidden world of family dynamics, the things we don't talk about, the secrets that shape our lives in ways we don't even realize.
I agree, and I think what's really striking is how these stories, while unique in their details, all touch on some really universal themes. The longing for connection, the fear of judgment, the desire to protect ourselves and the people we love.
And the messy, complicated reality of truth and forgiveness.
Absolutely.
We've seen how secrets can cause pain and division, but we've also seen how they can lead to unexpected reunions, moments of healing, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our families.
That's what makes these stories so compelling. They remind us that life isn't always neat and tidy, and that even the most challenging situations can offer opportunities for growth and transformation. It's like these stories are showing us that the perfect family is a myth, and that embracing the messiness, the complexities, is
Right.
actually what makes us human.
Exactly, and I think there's a real sense of liberation in that. When we let go of the need to present this perfect facade, we create space for authenticity, for vulnerability, for genuine connection.
Okay, so we've explored these really intense stories, but I want to bring it back to our listeners for a moment.
Yeah.
What does this all mean for them? Like, what can we learn from these Reddit confessions about our own families and relationships?
That's a great question. I think one of the biggest takeaways is that secrets have a way of shaping our lives even when we're not aware of them.
Mm.
They create these undercurrents that can influence our choices, our beliefs, our relationships.
So it's worth taking some time to reflect on our own family histories, right?
Yeah.
Are there any unspoken truths, any elephants in the room that might be impacting us in ways we don't realize?
It's definitely worth exploring, and I think it's important to approach these conversations with curiosity and compassion, both for ourselves and for the other people involved.
Because, let's be real, who hasn't kept a secret from their family at some point?
Right.
Whether it's a little white lie or something more significant, we've all got our reasons for holding things back.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to differentiate between secrets that are harmful and secrets that are simply private.
Hmm.
Not everything needs to be aired out in the open.
So how do we navigate that? How do we know when a secret needs to be brought to light and when it's okay to let it be?
That's a tough one, and there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to trust, communication, and a willingness to be honest with ourselves about the impact the secret is having on our lives and relationships.
It's like, are we holding on to a secret because we're afraid of the consequences or because we genuinely believe it's in everyone's best interest to keep it hidden?
Exactly. And if we're holding on to a secret that's causing us pain or preventing us from connecting with the people we love, then it might be time to consider having those difficult conversations.
But even then, it's not always easy, right? Some families just aren't equipped to handle those kinds of conversations.
Yep.
They might shut down, get defensive, or even lash out.
That's true. And in those cases, it's important to prioritize our own well-being.
Hmm.
We might need to seek support from a therapist, a trusted friend, or a support group.
Yeah.
We don't have to go it alone.
That's really good advice, and it brings us back to this idea of resilience, which you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what kind of family secrets we're dealing with, whether they're our own or someone else's, we have the capacity to heal, to grow, to find a way forward.
I firmly believe that, and I think these Reddit confessions offer a powerful reminder that we're not alone in our struggles. Every family has its own unique story, its own set of complexities and challenges.
But by sharing these stories, by having open and honest conversations, we can create a sense of shared humanity, a recognition that we're all in this together.
Beautifully said, and I think that's a really hopeful message to end on.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of family secrets, I hope you're leaving with a sense of wonder, a touch of empathy, and maybe even a renewed appreciation for the complexities of your own family history.
Yeah.
And remember, whatever secrets you're carrying, whatever truths you're grappling with, you're not alone. There are resources available, people who understand, and communities that can offer support and guidance.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of human experience.